In this episode, we design, build, and install a custom modern aluminum awning on the front of this house right here in Roanoke. Stick around and see how we did it. So here is an awning body that we just got back from CNC Fabricators. They have very nice Amana CNC press brakes that are really long. We can't bend this here. So what you're looking at is the top of an awning, and it looks like a big tray or pan, because it is. But what you'll be looking at really is the underside of this thing. And in the top here is going to be a bunch of strengthening ribs. You see on the front, there's the house number. And then we do have provisions for water collection, and it's going to be set on a slight angle back toward the house and slightly 1 degree to this side so it all drains. But what we have to do is we'll be welding all these structural ribs in here. We'll be welding up the corners here, which is nice. The bends, because Spike drew this in Fusion 360 in the sheet metal space, everything came up the way it was supposed to, so those will be nice corners to weld. These will be not so bad. And then there's a few other bits of aluminum that we've cut out that are going to go into this. So it is Tuesday, and we're going to try to get this thing, I'm not going to say rush job, but powder coated and installed by the end of the week would be phenomenal. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's our kind of loose goal. We're trying to help the design firm that had us build this out with the timing of their project, but there's only so much we can do. So that is tippy top of the priority list. So let's get into it. We're going to do a lot of aluminum TIG welding and potentially some more aluminum MIG welding with this guy. We didn't have killer results last time we set up the push-pull gun for aluminum welding, but it's always worth another try, at least while we have this thing. We don't have it on loan for that much longer, so it would be good to see how much more we can squeeze out of this thing before we got to send it on its way. But as always, we have our HTP TIG welder that welds aluminum really, really nice. So that's probably what we'll use to do most of this. So we'll see you in a second when it's weld time.
Your haircut looks nice.
Thank you. Grace and I kind of have the same haircut now. Yeah. It's a little top loaded, a little curly on the top.
I'll take the white side.
Yeah, I'll take the usual. I think it's good enough to pass and carry on though. Maybe it'll work. Maybe we can do this project with the Fronius. That would be nice.
Sure would.
This is a really intense project. There's a lot that can go wrong. One important thing is the back side is going to be at 91 degrees and the front side is going to be at 89 degrees. Because when this thing is screwed to the house, we want it to be tilted back toward the house a little bit for rainwater to go back. This side is going up against the house. That side is visible from the street. So they should be bent in that orientation. But if they're not, we're going to have to use these ribs that we weld in every 16 inches to lock this back wall in that orientation so that it sits correctly. Okay. We also need to make sure that by welding these corners, we don't jeopardize our ability to fix that angle. So we need to be looking at about 3 or 4 different things all at the same time. We need to be looking at the fact that this thing needs to be clamped down to the table because it has a bow in it. So we need to always make sure we're getting this thing, either putting something heavy on it to keep it held down to the table or clamping at the edge where possible. That's one thing we need to look at. Number 2 is making sure we don't blow through right here and that this weld comes out nice and smooth, because we're gonna come back and radius that a little bit, grind it smooth and kind of make it go away. Luckily our joint came out really good, so props to CNC for being able to do that. Number 3 is that angle on the back. If we don't get the angle on the front, I'm not too worried. It's the angle of the back piece that's going to establish how this thing sits on the wall. So we need to make sure that that is less. If we measure it on the inside, we need to make sure it's less than 90. If we measure it on the outside, we need to make sure it's more than 90. And then of course, being able to lay out the location of all of our pieces. So with this in mind, did you ask Spike if he dimensioned to the center? It looks like he did, yeah?
Yeah.
Center of each rib?
Yeah.
It looks like he measured outside to outside. So that's not helpful for us. We need to be able to measure from the inside. It's a constant back and forth between the designer and the fabricator. Because the things need to be dimensioned so that we can use our tape measures to find that dimension. Translation, but I need all of these dimensions for the location of these fins pulled off the inside.
So these are all inside to inside.
I know, but I can't do cumulative. I don't like cumulative. I need to be able to pull from the same reference for each one.
Oh, okay.
Because then if we make an issue, if we make a mistake, the problem compounds as you go. You know what I mean? Get our sides the right angle. But the problem with this is that we have to pull where we're going to be welding. So our first welds are going to be these.
Is there not a way I can just hold it and you tack it?
Could be, but I think that feels unreliable. I'd rather have something that pulls and then we can adjust it and leave it.
All right.
Instead of having to rely on someone holding it. So right here, we're gonna look for 89. This thing's gonna, yeah. 88.7. It's gonna get a little tricky. So we gotta pull this side out pretty bad. It's gonna be a good bit of setup before we get to weld anything here. It looks like I don't know what I'm doing, it's because that's true. I wish very badly I could explain to you guys what I'm doing, but I have no idea. We know now that if we go to weld these first 2 corners, this side will be square and this side will be leaned out 1 degree, which is what we want, because if we lean these out like this, and the whole thing's rotated up, they'll be perfectly straight up and down. So we want to hold these at 89, these at 90, and get a few corner tacks in here. And then we'll do the opposite over here, where we'll push the back end to 91 from the table. And it may already be there, I don't know. It looks like it's leaned in a little bit. So we got some gaps to fill. Let's work on that. Go on. T-bag, we have a box. Now I think we do all of our layout lines for all of our, we start figuring out how we're going to fixture those, and we'll start tacking all those in, and this thing will start to develop its own rigidity. Right now it's still pretty floppy in the center. This is what I don't like right now. Kind of a preload to it, bit of a spring, so I'm hoping we have enough capacity with several heavy things to load that down so that when we tack our ribs in, that'll be flat, because that's the A side. This thing's gonna be up above a front door and you're gonna be looking at the bottom of it. You really won't be looking in here, but it is exposed and you'll see it from the top of the street and you'll see it from the upstairs windows. So everything in here needs to be just as aesthetically pleasing as everything underneath. So there's really nowhere in this thing we can hide our sins. So we gotta be on our A game. I guess this one's just laid out.
Is that too big of a gap to fill? Do you center that front?
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't have a gap at all, but
well, I should have checked with you prior to that, because usually when we're doing like the welding stuff like this, you want a gap for the weld to live, but I guess it's on the inside.
yeah, inside it needs to go all the way out.
Okay. Well, do you want to recut it? Because we can fit one. We can do these on.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to. I mean, I need to worry about distortion here. So if I have a gap I gotta fill, that's more heat, more material I gotta feed in there, and it's more likely to distort and show a warp on the outside. So I definitely can't do that over there. So if I were to have to use these carts, I would push it all the way over there and then deal with this, but I mean, that sucks. So yeah, we're gonna have to recut all these.
I hate doing that.
What?
Making mistakes. Yeah, usually when we're doing stuff, we're like trying to leave space for the weld, but because this is we welded on the outside, it's like a fillet weld.
Right.
I don't need to leave that gap, so I should have let AutoCAD do its magic. Stupid Spike, stupid. You stupid boy.
Clamp the back side of this to this piece of aluminum tubing, but the aluminum tubing's not strong enough to hold this back straight. It's bowing out. So I'm going to try to drive these wedges in until it flattens. Alright, so now that this is wrangled flat, when we drop our fins in, we know that when we weld our gussets to the bottom and to this, and of course that locks this back panel in place, we know that the back panel is being locked in place at the right angle. So now anywhere I measure this on the inside should theoretically be, you know, either 89 or 91, whichever it's supposed to be. Before you guys attack me for trying to put a magnet on what looks like aluminum, I'm hoping that it reaches through the aluminum to the table underneath. Just barely sticks. Alright, do these fit? Yay, they fit.
Like a glove.
It's because they're the size they're supposed to be. a little big, but that's very easy to fix. If I can use the MIG welder.
Is it time?
I hope so, because it would make it a lot easier. If this works, then it'd be a lot faster and a lot less difficult.
Finagling.
Good, all right, good. Good. Pressing it up.
You at least tack it faster. It's pretty good.
Hey, I'd say that's very good.
Yeah. A little bit of soot, but that's okay. Might turn the gas up just a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Look at you go.
What I'm really hoping is that the underside of that doesn't look like a total disaster. So what I need, you know, the bottom of this thing is going to be looked at pretty closely, and it's just a giant flat piece. So I don't want it to have big bulges where the welds are. But I think this is good. We can do a test over there and see what it looks like on the other side. It's a little bulge. It's more than a little. It's a little hot. Still see it. See that right there?
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to sand this when it's all done.
Now, does powder hurt or help?
If it's gloss, it's worse. If it's matte, it helps. I don't know which one this one's getting powder coated. Hopefully matte, but we'll make sure we spread our heat around pretty evenly. Good. What the fuck is that? How do you do that and that with the same settings? It's truly frustrating. This stuff will come off. I'm not too worried about it. Smooth and it's not smooth. All right. It's pretty good for the day. We got our ribs sort of halfway welded in, and they fit, and all our angles are right. Should be right. I think that's a good spot to stop. Front panel looks pretty good. You could find a little wave here and there, but over 8 feet, a little wave is okay. I'm a little concerned about warpage or local deformation. We're at the weld site on the underside. But if it bulges out, we might just have to spend some time with an orbital sander and just like sanding it all flat, which is fine. We're getting it powder coated, so we don't have the luxury of like using Bondo or anything.
You know, I did see a neat aluminum annealing trick on real mechanic stuff.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should look that up. Let's see what.
Yeah, shout out to Donut Media for featuring us on Real Mechanic Stuff. Go check that video out somewhere. Maybe we'll have the link down below. It's that old annealing trick from forever ago. Shout out to Sandro. All right, I'm gonna have a heat stroke. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you in the morning.
All right, we're back on the awning project, and yesterday we left off having just tacked all of these ribs in place. And now I'm gonna stare at it for a little bit and figure out, you laugh, that is a very effective diagnostic trick to make sure I don't screw anything up. I used to get a lot of shit for it at Black Dog. Why aren't you working? Well, I need to figure out what I'm working on. And make sure that the next step is the right step. So, the only thing left to weld onto this, other than finish welding everything that's here, is there's a 2-inch strip being added to the very top of here, which was mandated by the structural engineer for some reason. And that's really it. So the main task today is just to finish welding up everything you see here, balancing heat, jumping around. I'm gonna try to keep all this clamps down as much as I can, but I am gonna remove tools and debris out of here and probably go over all my welds with a wire brush just to clean it up a little bit before we start welding. Take my time, balance my heat, try not to get this thing to warp or deform, and we'll see how we do. But yeah, time to wrestle the old Austrian gal over there, aka the Fronius, and see if it can't take me across the finish line.
Yeah, did you... Seems like you had pinpointed that having more stick out leads to less spatter.
Yeah, it wasn't like a perfect 1-to-1, but I had certainly less spatter the more stick out I ran. Although it took a little bit longer for the puddle to form. This thing is way smarter than I am, so I'm not going to pretend to know what it's doing because I'm not entirely sure what it's doing, but it was working better. That's all I know. I'll put it very plainly. Using my old Miller MIG welder was like ordering a beer in Mexico. This is like trying to describe heart surgery in Mexico. And the reason that's important is that I don't speak Spanish. It's like completely different than the welds I was doing yesterday, but I really like it. The weird part was I didn't touch anything from yesterday and I came in and it was welding like crap. I'm gonna send it.
Yep.
I hate this. Everything's in my way.
This is the obvious idiot question. You're basically just prepping your weld areas.
That is correct.
Cool.
I'm gonna have a good time. Let's do some welding. Nothing's gonna go wrong. It's all gonna work out great. I like it.
Well,
I like it. It's happening. That's pretty nice, man.
okay, I'm gonna switch to muties. Do you have any final thoughts? Because I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's really about this. Here's where I'm set up at. So I'm running 045 4043 aluminum filler wire. This is an iWave 500i. It's very affordable. Wire feed speed, or here, I'll just click through the settings here instead of boring you with them.
It's a lot of different settings.
Yeah. And I really don't know what they do. I just know that I think I found a combo that works. I turned off any of, so I had it on advanced two-step before, which could allow me to shape the start of the weld characteristics and the end of the weld characteristics. That was just too complicated, so I turned that off. It's straight up two-step, which is just on and off. And I'm running 100% argon at 40 CFH, and I'm run a lot of stick out. Doing the same thing to me it did to Hunter. It would just stop welding and push the wire into the weld. Anyway, it's time to unclamp and see how bad, if any, there is some warp. I'm expecting some. I don't see a ton. You worry about stuff like that. I just want to make a living and be respected, have fun. Seemingly in that priority order.
You can only choose one.
Well, it's not as bad as I was preparing myself for. I'm not surprised to see these, although I was hopeful I wouldn't. So there's a really good indication of what happens to aluminum on the backside when you weld it. It's very hard to keep the heat out, even with a fast-moving, fancy MIG welder like this. So I'm hoping that some sanding on the bottom side, specifically at these joints to try to knock those down, will help minimize this. At least it's symmetrical, it's a regular pattern. I don't actually mind how it looks.
I actually think it looks cool.
Yeah, but you have this dishing of each one, which there's nothing we can do about that. It's nice and light. I'm gonna spend some time sanding on the bottom, I think. Hope that's gonna look better. I'm pleased with the corners. So you guys probably saw the technique there. That came from many years of like woodworking. But really you treat every plane as its own plane. You make this plane flat all the way to the edge, this plane flat all the way to the edge, same here. So that should define your corner. And then if you want to round it like I did, you could use a router because it's aluminum, but just running the sander over, not like this, but like this, to kind of ease the edge, works out pretty good. So now, got the bottom okay. I could dress these a little more. They're definitely going to show up more when we powder coat it. Pretty good though.
That's way better.
Gotta preserve all that work I just did. All right, now I'm gonna dress up these welds. Wire brush them, get all the spatter off of here. I don't need to do too much work in here, but I want to make it look right.
Too much work in here.
Huh?
I said he says before he does too much work in here.
Probably, yeah. Probably, but the next piece.
I respect the thought of self-restraint.
Yeah, this was a requirement of the structural engineer. Not really sure why, but trying to make that guy or girl happy. And then we have this piece. This piece goes on the back. Sort of echoes this hole pattern. So just structural additions. But first, more sanding.
Woo! Tay's favorite.
Alright, so my last chance at getting the warp out of the back side of this is this panel is getting welded on here for an extra layer of strength. These holes match those holes. And so I'm going to weld around the perimeter of that plate. So if I could use that opportunity to square this up if I clamp it the right way. So I think what I'm going to do is follow my own advice, put a spacer under here, clamp the sides down, pre-flexing it, weld this plate on, and hopefully that when it springs back, it'll be flat. Because right now, if it's curved like this, the water's going to gather in the middle, and I don't want that. I don't think this thing works. Yeah, 92.5. You're dying. Yeah, that's not.
That's working.
Let it cool down. And if that fixed my warp, then I'm done. Yeah, that has done absolutely nothing. It's gonna have to do because the front is flat. The part you look at is flat. That's flat against the table. This part's gonna be up against the house, up against the wall. is what it is, I guess. Very complex shape. One of these days I want to build something out of metal that doesn't warp. That would be awesome. Here's the problem with you telling me how you would have done it in the comments. It's too late. I already did it wrong. So we know that this piece is leaned forward, which is good. So when that's screwed to the house, it'll pick it this way. So that means the water will flow to the back. And then it's up to us to shim it to where the water flows that way. It should be okay. The only problem is the back side of this thing is kind of like that. But it's not by much. There's only so much you can do. I guess we could put, you know, the gutter somewhere else, but we got it pre-drilled right there. And it's not in the corner. You know, ideally it would be in the very corner, but I didn't articulate that well enough. All right, they want it in by Friday. It's getting powder coated tomorrow morning. So we did what we could do.
We'll touch base tomorrow morning about it.
Yeah. See y'all in the morning. That was a big day.
Very.
Yeah, I figured it'd be plenty of
Ooh-wee.
Set it on this cardboard box. Here, hold on. We'll flip it over. Let's see inside what this. Look at that.
Whoa.
That looks great.
That looks amazing.
That is very nice. Y'all do it every time.
Yeah, when did you come pick this up this morning?
9 a.m.
8:30.
And it is currently 3 o'clock?
Almost 4. That's awesome, man. Sweet.
Just there.
Glad it's, yeah, no, it looks great. I'm glad it's aluminum. That'd be heavy as shit otherwise.
Yeah.
I can't thank y'all enough.
No worries.
If you're not using powder coating creations yet, you should.
Yeah.
It's square if you're not. All good. Well, we'll see you on the install.
Dude,
Coming right up.
that looks amazing.
Looks good. It's really good. Hard work pays off sometimes.
You crushed it, they crushed it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. See you there. Hey everybody, Tay here, and we are on site at a customer's house, and we've just finished up 2 projects. This cool aluminum awning behind me, and a large, several sections of stainless cable railing on the back deck of this house. So out here doing some finishing touches, finally ready to show you guys some beauties and show you what we've done. So let me walk you through some of the finer details of these projects that we have yet to film. All right, so in the front of this house, we have the awning. And the awning is made from aluminum. It's powder coated by our good friends over at Powder Coating Creations. And it hangs off the front of this house thanks to 12 giant lag bolts that hold the back piece against the wall, and 2 sections of 1/4-inch stainless cable that aren't really doing anything, but they offer an aesthetic appeal and make the structural engineer happy. So from down here, it's a pretty cool look. What I just added this morning is this downspout. So this is a 1-inch aluminum tube welded to a flange up there that corresponds with a hole and 4 bolts that we cut when we built the panel. And the whole thing is kicked back toward the house like 1 or 2 degrees and slightly to the right. So all the water that gathers in the top of that thing comes into the back corner here, down the downspout, and out into the yard down here. So nice little finishing touch. That was a request of the customer, so everything is ready to go. May come back at a later point and make an attachment for this to be held to the wall. So here you can see the rib system we designed for the inside. We tried to make them aesthetically pleasing, being that they are visible. The ribs do a lot. The ribs support the center of it. The ribs support the front as it's anchored to the back. And they look cool, and the arches are for water to flow underneath, and you know, just gives it that cool industrial look. And then there's a good look at the stainless cables and whatnot. So over here, back here we have our railing system. So the deck was, I believe, added to the house, so it didn't have railings at all. Needed some, and shout out to our friends at Circle Design for contracting us to do this railing system. It's all built from 14 gauge steel tubing, and then also has provisions for all this stainless cabling. Right here, painters have yet to finish up things, but right here we have the stairs up to the back, so you got cables right there. We've got a little transition piece here that jumps over to a long stretch of cables down the side of the deck. This run is so short that we used stainless round bar instead of cables to give it that really clean look. And then on up the stairs, custom gate. Hold the latch back. This opens in this way. And then here we have a deck full of cable rail. Oh, cool. Painters are starting to paint things. But you can see cap rails made from 1x2. Nice little radius, good feel under the hand. Railing goes from the front down here out to this corner. And the rest of this neighborhood seems to be under construction as well, so don't worry about that. But comes out to the corner. Our sections were made to be bolted together, so they bolt together every 2 or 3 posts. And all the railing was fabricated by us in-house as well, with parts and pieces we got online. So it wraps around this way, comes to the corner, back to the house, nice and code compliant. 36 inches all the way around, less than 4 inches between the cables, and all is good. So these cable railings are really tough to do because they're very tedious. There's a lot of holes to drill, there's a lot of cables to make up, there's a lot of things to get right. The actual railing system is somewhat unsupported until everything gets bolted together, so it's kind of hard to move, it's hard to transport. It's tricky for the powder coaters to hang it and spray it in their booths. So these I don't do for everyone. We do it for returning customers, people we've worked for in the past. We've done lots of work with Circle Design, so when they wanted some modern cable railing, we were happy to do it. But yeah, we're moving more towards signage and large-scale sculpture work, so can't guarantee that I'll be doing a whole lot more of these cable systems just because they are so time-consuming and so difficult. And it's rare that you're able to charge what you would like to charge given the amount of effort necessary to make them. But, you know, everybody has a price, I suppose. But I'm quite pleased with the product we've installed here. Really happy to put our name on it. Another job well done, if I do say so myself, and a happy customer. So, good looking piece. House is coming together. Excited to see it when it's all done. Looks like the painters have been busy. So, that is an overview of this cable system and aluminum awning. And there you go. So, thank you for watching. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one.